All right. Getting moed, everyone. Um, Welcome. Chol Hamoed Pesach. Today we counted 5 days to the Omer. Hod Shebechesed. And today, Bez Hashem, we will begin Seif Zayin, number 7. Now, um, a little synopsis of what it is, of the Torah. Up to now, we were dealing with the interrelation between the Atika Kadisha, the Orapanim, which is Pnei Menorah, the source where everything exists, existed, and will exist, and the mechanism to bring down into the mind, the intelligence of a person, that particular light, and that mechanism is the 7 candles, the 7 receptacles of the candelabra, which by a person is the mouth and the nose and the ears and the eyes. And we explain that the avodah that enables that unfathomable and in a way a light that cannot be constricted, because per definition it is unconstricted and unfathomable, undifferentiated, is not by polishing your mind, not by becoming better intellectually. That only constitutes a seichel, an intelligence, which is pchinas ochar, an intelligence which is always resting on preemblems, prior knowledge, prior experience, and so forth. Whereas the kedem, that seichel, as Rabbeinu calls it, the shefa eloki, this is a divine intelligence, is acquired by controlling the 7 receptacles, by limiting the 7 receptacles, by subjecting the natural pe'ula, the action of each one of those senses, on these senses, subjecting it to an inner chokhmah that exists in each and every one of them. So by the mouth, the inner chokhmah is to say what you need to say and not to say what you need not to say. So the main elevation of the mouth beyond the natural realm elevating it to uh, a supernal realm of Sechel B'chinas Kedem, is by, as Rabbeinu says, be careful from not to say any lie. Not lie, not exaggeration, not misrepresentation, and so forth and so on. The Inyan of nose is the Inyan of Yir Shemaim, is the Inyan of Emunah. The Inyan of the ears is Emunah's Chachamim. And a readiness to accept rebuke from the Chachamim. This is something that we don't want to do. This is something that person doesn't like. Because naturally, we want to hear good stuff. We want to hear stuff that makes us feel good about ourselves. But the wisdom of the ears is, what are the ears for? Ears exist in order to hear rebuke. The rebuke is not because there is an inyan of making you feel bad. Rebuke is in order to better yourself, in order to get yourself to where you need to go. This is, this world is not all beer and skittle. This is nishka honiglichen. This is a place where we work. And the eyes, as we said, it's very important to subjugate the eyes to the chokhmah that exists in the eyes, and that is, as we said, not to look at that which doesn't befit you, meaning not to look at anything below you, and not to look at things which are above you, above your station. In other words, each and every one of the midas, of the receptacles of the candelabra, becomes a switch that turns on the mind to be able to contain that which is uncontainable, which is, as we said, the aura makiv that comes in. And it's a light that is so complete. It's an understanding that is so whole that it comes in at once. You get the whole thing in an instant. And when the instant that movement of the Shefa Eloki, of the divine plenty, the bestowment comes in one fell swoop, that excites the heart. And when the heart is excited, you don't need to work hard. You don't need to work hard in order to get yourself, to turn yourself on into Avodas Hashem, because your heart is already doing it. When you are really lit up, into Avodas Hashem, into whatever it is that you're studying, it's very easy to be into Avodas Hashem. It's when you're lethargic, when things don't shine to you, this is when it's hard. But when you get an influx of Shefa Eloki, it's very easy. You're excited by itself. And we went through these sevens with the Sukkah, and which is the 7 clouds of glory. And then we said that also comes through hard work. It says and the vapor will come out of the land of the Aretz. The Ed, the Anonim has to come from the Aretz, has come from the land, has come from the earth, has to come from an effort, your human effort. Then we said also there's a manifestation which is the 7 days of merriment. It comes after the Kiddushin. Kiddushin represents the Shefa Eloki, the Atika Kadisha, the Pnei Menorah. And the 7 days afterwards is in order to take that light and, to manifest it in um, contain it and become one with it. We also said that this is the Shever Yemei Avelus La'aleinu, and the union of Yibum, which has to do with Miriam, and the 7 days that she had to be Metzora, you have to be a leper, um, spiritual leper, is to stay out of the Machnis Yisrael for 7 days. Again, here we're talking about when there is a deficiency, when the Pnei Menorah is damaged in any way, shape, or form. The Bechina of 7 has to fulfill it in to refill that which was taken away, that which was lessened. So if we're talking about Shiva Me'avelus, we're talking about the nifter that every Jew represents an insertion in um, um, a flow of Shefa Eloki, by his very existence. Doesn't matter even what his level of Yiddishkeit but by his very existence, he is bringing Shefa Eloki into this world. And you can tell that this is happening by the hate that the Goyim have to any Jew. It doesn't matter his level of adherence to mitzvahs, because when a Goy sees a Jew, he can't take it. He can't take it. It irks him to the nth degree. Why? Because a Jew is something else. A Jew is something else. He's a different thing, and the Goy knows it. He doesn't know it, he feels it in his own being. And he resents it because he's not. So after we have explained that there is a makif, which is the intelligence that did not come in, and we also said that there is makif lemakif. There is a light, an intelligence, which is beyond the intelligence which is beyond you. That intelligence which is beyond you, which is your makif, the circumferential intelligence, as it were, you're already connected with it. You get your chayas when you are aimed towards it, when you want to get more, to know more, and you are zeroed in to the makif already gives you a sense of excitement of that which you're going to get. So the makif is giving a life energy to the pnimi. The pnimi is something that you already know. That's de rigueur. This is who you are. This is how things are. You understand it. You know it. That's old news, as they were. The makif is hinting to you of b'chinas in news, something which is brand new, the excitement. From this comes that insatiable interest of people in news. They want to know what's new. Why do they want to know what's new? What do you care? I mean, what is it? I mean, the same thing which is new today. Last week something else was new. So why don't you read, something that will happen that last week? That's old news. What does it mean it's old news? What do you care? It has nothing to do with you this way or that way. The answer is that the news gives me a sense of renewal, gives me chayas. This comes from the makif. Beyond my makif, there is another makif. That's the next seichel. That's the next stage, which I even don't have. I don't have any connection to it. But the minute that I will be able to, where I will work with that particular bechina of 7, which is negea to my station, it can be Shiva Seneres, it can be the Sukkah, it could be the Yeshiva Semir Mishte, or whatever it is. I bring in through the 7 receptacles, the 7 candles, I bring in the makiv, I bring it inside. That moves in like a waves in the sea. When the wave washes to the shore, there's another wave after it. So now the wave that was further away from me becomes closer to me. Now it becomes what used to be the makif to the makif. That which the surrounding intelligence that surrounded my surrounder, as it were, it now becomes my makif. I will continue working on my 7 candles, my 7 substacles, and that one will also come in, a new one. That which was 2 steps away will come in, and so forth and so on. Now, Rabbeinu, all this is a bechina of 7. The 7 which receives from the 8th. The 8th is the Atiko. That's the light that comes through the Bina. It's the 8th day. We know that 7 represents nature. The 8th represents beyond nature. 7 is the meters, the 7 days of the week. The 8th is the 8th day. The 8th day, that's the one day that contains all the days. That's from the Chanukah. One day contained enough oil, to light up all the other 7 days, and so forth and so on. Now Rabbeinu talks about another inyan. And he says, Velifamim, and sometimes, and if you have that, I sent you originally let's just share the screen a little bit, and we'll take a look here. And we're saying here, Velifamim, and sometimes, Yesh Shamoichin Vashefa Eloki, sometimes the intelligence, the awareness, Vashefa Eloki, and the divine plenty, Hu Be'elam, it is concealed. Bivchinas Ibur, this is a state of gestation, a state of pregnancy. Like the fetus is inside the stomach, the womb of its mother, and you can tell. There's just a little bump there, but you don't know what's going on there. Rabbeinu says sometimes there is, the system is clogged up. Then the thing that helps in that particular state is a cry. Ben betfilo, ben beter. In other words, to cry out in your tefillah and to cry out in Torah. Here, let's just read the text and we can get into it a little bit. Ben beTorah, ben betfila. And this is when the intelligence disappears. the disappearance, the cover up. I know ibor. Ze bivchinas tsur yolot choteshi. Tsur yolot choteshi is kmo v'koach ein leda. That the like the woman that is ready to give birth, but she's so exhausted that she doesn't have the energy with which to give birth. V'koach ein leda. Kmo isha shetosha koicha meleled, like a woman who is exhausted, doesn't have the koyach, doesn't have the energy to give birth. Ubesha'a she koras leiled, and when she is ready to give birth, Ramas ein kalin. The woman is crying out, is elevating 70 noises, 70 voices. Kiminyan teves shebamizmo ya'ancha. Like in the Mizmor of Tehillim of number 70, there is 70, there's 70 words in that particular Mizmor. V'az moledet, a woman that is giving birth needs to cry out 70 voices for the whole process of giving birth. All the construction that come before it, and when she cries out 70 voices, then she gives birth. Vashivin kalim, these 70 voices, and Pchinas Shiva Koiles She'ama David Alamayim. That's the 7 voices that David HaMelech said on the water. We have the Mizmor of Kol Hashem, Kol Hashem B'Koyach, Kol Hashem B'Hodor. If it starts with Kol Hashem Alamayim, Kol Hashem B'Hodor, Kol Hashem, and so forth and so on, and it goes all the way down. The last one is Kol Hashem Yichol Yolois, that Hashem awakens Ayolos, does, as in doe, the female of, and then it gives birth. This is a very, very deep concept. The Zohar speaks about it. What we're talking over here is that any bechina of birth requires 70 calling out, 70 voices. You notice here, we're not talking about where the makif is there, and you are the inside, you're the pnimi, and you have to control the 7 candles, 7 receptacles, and with this bring the makif in. Now we're talking about a state where it says v'lifamim, sometimes the moichin itself are plugged up, the system is clogged, as it were. Everything is, the situation is pregnant. Everything is ready, but nothing is happening. The Zohar, it's probably the deepest Zohar in all others, talks about a doe, which is Ayelas HaShachar, which represents the Shechina. And it says that doe is ready to give birth. That doe represents an extremely, extremely high Bechino. It says, Ke'ayol sarog alafike maim, like a deer yearning on brooks of water. But when you look at it close, you see that the male and female are together. Ayol is male. Saroig is female. When the female is longing, you're talking about the male and female together. Talking about the highest Bechina, the Shechina is ready to give birth, and it can't. So it goes to a hiding place, and it puts his head between its knees, and it cries out 70 cries. And then HaKadosh Baruch Hu brings a snake. And that snake bites the Ayola, this Ayol Sashachar, bites it twice. The first time that the first bite brings about blood, and the second bite brings about water, and the later comes, and then the birth is happening. So when we look at that particular Mizmor Tehillim, let me just take a look here. Just 1 second. Hold on. Okay. See what I have here. Just 1 second. Right. Just 1 second. I'm taking the time. I'm sorry I didn't prepare a siddur beforehand, but if you just give me a second, we'll bring it. Okay. I have it here. Hold on, just 1 second. Hold on. We'll just hold this. Where is it? Just 1 second. Okay. All right, let's just take a look at it. Take a look at this particular Mizmor. Okay. Okay, here's the Mizmor. It's Mizmor LeDavid, Havu Lashem Bnei Elim. Mizmor LeDavid, give to Hashem the sons of Elim. Elim means strong, son of Koyach. We're talking about Zer Ampin, which is the descendant of that Ayola. Havol Hashem kavod va'oz. Give to Hashem kavod and strength. And then it starts. Havol Hashem kavod shmo yishtachavu Hashem adras kodesh. And then the 7 voices come. Kol Hashem alamayim, kel kavod iri. Hashem al mayim rabim. That's the first one. We're talking about water that represents the sphere of Chesed. Then we say Kol Hashem bekoyach, that is the sphere of Gvura. Kol Hashem behodar, the voice of Hashem, hodar is the Tiferes. Then we have Kol Hashem shoiver arozim, breaking the cedars. Vishaber Hashem es arzeh alvonoim v'yarkidem k'mo egel levono v'sir k'mo ben re'emim. This is the spheres hanetzach. Then we have Kol Hashem choitzev lahavos eish. Hashem carves flames of fire. That is the sphere of Hod. Sphere of Hod is the hottest gvuras that there is. And then we have Kol Hashem Yechid Midbar. Hashem will excite, Hashem will in a chol of Midbar, Midbar Kodesh. This is the sphere Yesod. And then we have Kol Hashem Yecholel Ayolos. Excites the Ayolos, the Ayolo. That's the sphere of Malchus. V'yeches of Yaros, u'v'cholo kol olim mekovod. You notice we're moving here from a state of everything is okay. Basically, you're talking about a light that is simply beyond as a makif. You need a 7. When you are getting into the situation where there is ibur, where there is gestation, when there is pregnancy, but there is no later, and this is a state that every Jew finds himself in. We're moving from 7 to 70. In the Mizmor Ya'ancha, that is a segula for a yoledes to give birth, there are 70 words in that particular Mizmor. There are 10 psukim in that Mizmor. 10 verses and 70 words. To tell you that each, I mean, it's not divided actually that way, but it tells you that every pasuk basically should be kaviyachol like on the average of 10 words. Every single voice from the 7 words that David HaMelech calls on the water is comprised of 10 voices. Altogether, it is 70 voices. These 70 voices are that's the cry that has to go in order to release, to give a birth to the moichin, to the makif. And then comes the 7 voices, the 7 candles that will bring it in. In the Torah, Rabbeinu says, first of all, the 7 with the Pnei HaMenorah, the Atik, the Shefa Eloki. And afterwards it says sometimes there's a situation where the moichin, the makif, whatever it is plugged up. You know, it's a problem. You cannot give birth. And then what you need to do is to cry out. Reb Nosson explains later that the proper order is, first of all, you cry out and you bring in the moichin from the 70, from a matzav of ibur, of pregnancy. You're bringing into a lower, a more exposed, more overt situation of a makif. And then with the 7 candles, you bring it in. That's the proper order of how things to come. Which means every single Jew finds himself in a situation that he's plugged up. He's plugged up and he's desperate. That's one thing, that things are difficult. It's hard enough when things are difficult, which is a regular makif. But sometime the whole Metzius of HaKadosh Baruch Hu becomes, it's nelam, it's becoming hidden. And a Jew can feel as if Chas v'Shalom, HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't care about me. I mean, what? Hashem doesn't know what's happening with me. how can you just leave me like that? How can you just what's going on? How can that be? That is a situation that a Yid is supposed to cry out to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Am Yisrael could not get out of Mitzrayim before they cried out to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. V'zaku bnei Yisrael min ha'avodo. Am Yisrael cried out from the work. Vayishma Elokim, vayed Elokim. HaKadosh Baruch Hu heard, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows. Rabbeinu says this Inof knows a little bit later here as well. This Inof Tza'oko, this Inof crying out, is a state of getting out of our comfort zone. We don't want to get out of our comfort zone. As I said, we all want to get into Gan Eden in a Cadillac. We don't want, just like let me be, let things be what they are. It's like but the thing is that it doesn't work that way. Because as long as there is a comfort zone, I'm comfortable enough with this world. What this world has to give me. The food is good. The bed is comfortable. People are nice. What's bad? Well, why look for anything else? But the thing is that this world is only a preparation for the next one. So the thing is that this world, HaKadosh Baruch Hu has to shake you out of your comfort zone, because otherwise you'd never move. Why should I move? Everything is okay, everything is fine. It's only when I'm in distress and I cry out, then I bring about the Leido, the birthing of the Talumos, of the Makifin. And then I can bring him in. Each and every one of us was put into this world in order to bring the Makifin in, to bring the light of the Pnei Menorah to this world. And according to how much the Or Makif, or the light of Pnei Menorah you are able to bring into this world, this is how much Kedusha you add above. Havo el Hashem kavod va'oiz. Give to Hashem kavod va'oiz. Give Hashem strength. When you add, when you make an avodah, when you're working hard in this world, you are adding to the Kedusha above. This is what you're going to get, La'osid Lavai. That's what you're going to get in the next world. There's plenty of time to sleep afterwards. Now is the time to work. And if you don't wake up, they wake you up. Mishamayim, they wake you up. And you get to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And you get the avodah. You bring it in. And he said, and that every single voice in Perek Chavtes, by the way, there are 70 voices, and I believe 380 letters, which is Shin Ein Horin. Shin Ein Horin, that's the 370 lights of the Atik Kadisha, of Pnei Menorah. The Shin Ein Oiris, the famous Shin Ein Oiris. So the Atza'oko, Rabbeinu says, and that crying out, Sha'adam tzeg b'tfilah v'torah. So that person cries out in his Torah and in his tefillah. Shenistalkin ha'moichem b'pchinas ibor. When the intelligence, when the awareness, when the cognition is gone, when the expanded consciousness is hidden, b'pchinas ibor, as it's pregnant, it's not hasn't been born yet. Elu hatza'okas, these crying that you are crying out, and pchinas tzakas yoledis. This is exactly parallel to the crying out of a woman who's giving birth, because we have a birthing situation. They're all the same, whether it's a woman giving birth or whether it's us giving birth to the moichin. It's all one thing, it's all the same principle. Same way that the woman is giving birth is to cry out 70 voices, same way by us, where when a person cries out in his tefillah, in his Torah, that's the 70 cries that the Allah is crying out. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Shu Yodea Ta'alum Shel HaMoichin, HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows where all the moichin were hidden. Ech Nis'almu, how this particular moichin were misalim. Umazin Tzakaseinu, he is listening to our cries. Vatza'oko, hu bimkom tzakas hashchina. And our crying out is instead of the crying of the Shechina. This is what it says when you're crying out. This is in the Shem of Mem Beis that we are reciting during Sfir Sa'omer, which is Ana Bechoach Tulas Yimincho Tatir Tzrura. It comes out the two name Aleph Beis, Aleph Beis Gimel. Yeah, Ana Bechoach Tulas Yimincho Tatir Tzrura. This is Yud Taf Tzadik. So if it's the last one, is Shma Tzakaseini Yodea Ta'alumos. That is that hear our cries, the knower of all hidden. This is the Kadosh Baruch Hu knows where the moichin of each and every one of us was hidden, and he hears our cry, and it gives birth. Then comes a Baruch Shem Kvod Malchus Eloi Olam Va'ed. And when we are crying out, it's like the Shechina is crying out, because the Shechina Kaviyachol is the one who needs to cry out. So because that's Ayelos HaShachar, that is the giving birth to the Moichin Bechlal. Then the Shechina gives birth to the Moichin. Then until now we're in a Bechina of Ibur, and a person gets from the Shechina the Moichin. He gets a Bchinas Ibur, Bchinas Makifin, and the Makifin you bring in through the avodah of Shivas and Eres. Obviously, we have the same thing here in Pesach. You have the first night of Seder. Well, all the Moichin come, Moichin, the Gatzman, the Katnas, everything comes together. We spoke about that. It all comes in one fell swoop. Then we need 7 days. The 7 days, Kol Hashem Alamayim. All these particular bechinas, until this we cannot eat any chametz. Until it comes the seventh day is Kriyas Yamsuf. Kriyas Yamsuf is the parting of the sea. That's the opening of the womb. This is where the waters come out. This is where the birth of our nation is taking place. So Bezat Hashem, hopefully Bezat Hashem Bli Neder, we will meet again on Motzei Shabbos, and we will Bezat Hashem get into Sipur Baal Shem Tov and Sichas Haran and continue. Again, I want to thank each